Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So I have recently moved my succulents under the shade because it has started to rain, so I had to be a little bit more careful with them. So I moved them over here. They get a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours because the direction of the sun has changed and now the sun starts to rise from northeast, so I get a lot of direct sunlight over here. So I quickly wanted to talk a little bit in detail about something that I have been seeing a lot on these Facebook groups. Now recently I had seen there was a lot of debate going on whether succulents can be grown in terrariums or not. Now guys, the simple answer is no, succulents are not meant for terrariums. Always remember, a terrarium is basically an enclosed environment. There are certain type of plants that can be used for terrariums. Now, be it an enclosed terrarium or an open terrarium. Now, when I say open terrarium, it basically means that there is no lid on the terrarium. But at the end of the day, the terrarium is an enclosed environment. So all the sides are completely closed, so there is not much of an air circulation. And we all know what our succulents prefer. They prefer a place wherein there is a lot of air circulation, the soil tends to dry faster, and there is less humidity, which is completely opposite in a terrarium. Now, I'm not saying that the moment you are going to put your succulents in the terrarium, they will die. Of course, they are going to survive for a short duration of time. Now, that could be either 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, probably max 3 months. That is provided that you have given a proper care to it. That is in terms of giving a good amount of light and being very careful with watering. But again, that is going to come with a lot of challenges to keep your succulents alive in the terrarium for up to 3 months. And in meanwhile, probably from 1 to 2 months or from 2 to 3 months, there would be a lot of succulents that will start to melt inside the terrarium. And the ones that are slightly hardy will be able to survive. So it all depends upon the variety of succulent. But eventually, the hardy ones also over the period of time will start to deteriorate in the terms of health and will eventually start to rot. Now, the issue with terrariums is whether it's an enclosed terrarium, whether it's an open terrarium, there are certain plants like the nerve plant, which is also the Fittonia, or the polka dot plant, or the ferns, or some type of begonias. These are the plants that are apt for growing inside either an enclosed terrarium or an open terrarium, because they are plants that tend to like a lot of humidity, like a lot of moisture, do not prefer a lot of direct sunlight, and are okay growing in a very small little compact environment. But our succulents are completely opposite to that. So be extremely careful. And what I have seen is a lot of beginners tend to encourage others to grow succulents in terrariums. If a person who is very well experienced with succulents would never advise you to keep succulents in a terrarium, but this is usually seen with a lot of beginners because they do not have much idea about succulents. Because recently in one of the Facebook group I am a part of, I had seen a lady who was very convincing and telling people that yes, growing succulents inside a terrarium is absolutely fine, and she was very confident about it, and she said that she has been doing this for a couple of years. And when she shared the image, I was in complete shock because no person would ever think that the succulents are in a very good condition by looking at that image. Now, of course, I cannot share her name or I cannot share that image because it was on a different platform. So I do not have the permission to share those images what she had shared. But I wish you guys could have seen that, because she said that she has been growing succulents in terrariums for a very long time. But when I seen that image, it was in such a bad state. I can't even explain. I have never ever seen something so bad. All I could see is a lot of pebbles and rocks in the terrarium, and there was hardly 2 little small tiny succulents, probably less than an inch. I think probably they have already melted off. Sorry, not 1 to 2 inches. I think it was probably 2 or 3 centimeters small succulent that has stretched extremely long, and it was in a very bad condition. I wish I could have shown that image to you, and I don't even remember the post. It was in one of the Facebook group. So please be very careful. Succulents are not meant for terrariums. They might last for a short duration, but the succulents will not grow very well. The succulent in the terrarium is going to be basically sitting in a closed environment with a lot of moisture and humidity, there is going to be less, or I would say no, air circulation at all, which will promote fungus or mold growth, pest attack. If the soil does not dry completely, if you have not given that proper amount of time for the soil to dry, the succulent will also start to rot inside. So a lot of things, you are just going to complicate the hobby of growing succulents. So be extremely careful. It's as simple as putting your succulent in a pot with a drain hole, giving the basic requirements, and the succulent is going to do quite well. A lot of people will advise you to put your succulents in terrarium. Trust me, it is not going to work out in a long time. Probably in couple of months itself, the succulent will start to fall apart. Guys, forget about all this. Let's say that you as an individual are already having a lot of difficulties growing succulents in a pot with soil, with a drain hole. You can see a lot of people are struggling with either overwatering, or some people are having pest issues, fungus, stretching of succulents, all of these issues. Now imagine that same succulent, putting it into a terrarium wherein the succulent was already struggling in an open environment, and if you're going to put it inside the terrarium, you know what's going to happen next. So please don't get into it. It's a very simple thing to just take your succulents and keep it in a pot, give the right amount of light conditions, give a balanced watering, and everything is going to work out really well. Keep the soil lean in nutrients, and trust me, it is one of the most easiest plant to grow. Of course, a little bit of exceptions with climate and stuff like that, but growing succulents in terrarium is going to be a very, very bad idea. So please don't do it. It's a very beautiful plant, not supposed to be grown in a terrarium. They prefer a good ventilated area, a place where there is a good amount of air circulation. The soil should dry faster. It should be dry, and this is completely opposite in a terrarium. It's a closed environment, completely covered from all the sides, and there is no air circulation. So guys, that's all about it. It's pretty simple to grow things if you keep it simple. Succulents are very simple. They're very less demanding plants. They don't need a lot of fancy stuff. If you are going to make things fancy, or if you're going to make things complicated for them, they are going to make your life complicated. So just keep it simple. Put them in a well-draining soil mix that is loose, porous, lean in nutrients pot with a drain hole. Earthen pots are much better, and you will have them growing in their best form. So that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.